So now that brings me to our question, or the subject of the presentation is like how we, or how you should manage private keys in the Bitcoin landscape securely. In the crypto market 2017, it started with Bitcoin of a value of like €1,000 or $1,000. It increased very rapidly to $19,000. It was very insignificant, but since it gained a lot of traction, all of a sudden, a lot of people wanted to invest in it. Crypto platforms existed, but they were insecure, or they didn't really care about security. They just believed, or they just did what they believed in. As a result, in 2017 already, like hundreds of millions of dollars already got lost. In the last 3 years, it has been $7.8 billion when I checked 2 days ago. But there existed hardware solutions. Hardware wallets existed, but it was really complex to use. As you have seen, like maybe in the previous presentations, security is very cool, but it's super difficult. So if I would have to explain to my grandfather to participate in Bitcoin using hardware wallets, it would just not be possible to participate in. So people would just go through existing platforms whilst handing in security. So that's why I thought, why don't we follow the way that Bitcoin originally envisioned to manage crypto, where every transaction would happen on-chain, everybody would have its own segregated wallets, and you are fully in control of your own funds, your wallets, your keys, and your crypto. So we try to build this in with Securosys, with the HSMs, but we faced a couple of challenges. Giving everybody like its own private keys, we had to think of like a way to store them because it's really hard. It's a randomized string. It should be user-friendly to use. Like otherwise, my grandpa would still not be able to use it. And the biggest problem of all was responsibility. Giving clients, our own personal clients, which did not have enough technical knowledge, access to like a private key, including all its responsibility for the access to their wallets, was like a huge deal. So we started with one seed phrase to the private key, which gave access to your own personal segregated wallet. The 24 words were engraved in a metal plate. The metal plate was then stored in multiple vaults, and every time you would have to use it, it would be really hard because you would have to enter it manually, offline or online. It will be secure, but still really hard to use. So we extended that with a mobile app based on the secure element inside there. You would be able to generate a really secure random private key. You would not be able to extract it, but you would be able to use it in a very easy fashion. So with that, the mobile app became another key in the entire chain, which gave access to your wallets. It would be really easy to add or remove more mobile apps. In the end, Securosys helped us with adding or providing a flexible structure, allowing to add as many keys or constructing as flexible its authorization there could be for each client and for each wallet individually. So with an opt-in approach, people would not want to have the responsibility or the full responsibility to completely manage their own private keys. So we have, in that sense, introduced a Blockrise backup, or introduced a solution for clients to give a part of their keys in specific scenarios that would allow us to reset or provide an alternative access to their Blockrise wallet. We've started, as Daniel said, with like our cloud HSM. It was really cost effective because it was really cheap. It provided like the crypto specific features, and most importantly, the smart key attributes, which Melanie also talked about, was just really like a game changer for us. Instead of like depending on the multi-sig solution of Bitcoin, where you would hard code or like pre-configure the authorization required to manage a wallet and not being able to change that, we could dynamically change the authorization to the wallet and dynamically add or remove phones which would make sense for normal users. Like every 2 years, you would replace your phone, and like you wouldn't have to modify your wallet at all. Then we got a curveball because we're located in the Netherlands, so that's in the EU. In the EU, you had 2 new regulations. One is MiCAR, regulated by the Authority of Financial Markets in the Netherlands, and the second one is DORA. They forced us to rethink how we tackle the entire problem of custody. So also how we manage client funds, how we safeguard client funds, how we control the client funds, including the access to the keys, which and then also gave access to the wallets. With the cloud HSM, we could not, we were completely dependent on Securosys, and we could not manage the wallets completely ourselves, which also meant that in the worst case, you would still have to trust us, and our clients would still have to trust Securosys. If Securosys would have pulled the plug, all our access to the client's private keys would be lost. So therefore, we started to look at purchasing, or that's what Daniel also told us and introduced it about. We purchased our own HSMs, we hosted it in our own data centers, and this also directly satisfied the question of the regulator who has control over the keys. Control over the keys does not only mean access to the keys, but also means negative access or negative control. If Securosys now would be able to, or would pull the plug, our keys or our clients would still be able to access their wallets and their crypto. So we are also looking, I think, ahead to new projects that would still enhance our trust, or the clients their trust, not only in the company, but especially in the way that we manage crypto. So we're looking at auditing. I think Melanie already showed in a previous demo that you could look in how or which keys in the HSMs give access to the key. So how the access is managed. But since we don't want to give every client access to the HSM, there should be, or we're looking into independent ways to verify what we actually say what we do is actually what we do. We also believe in the core value that you shouldn't or you don't have to trust us. Every action that we do should be verifiable by you independently of us. So that's why we're looking at ways that you can independently verify what we have done in the HSM, and also the payload. I think like maybe some people know, but like the Bybit hack and a lot of other crypto hacks, the signing interface was mocked. It showed that you were signing for something else than what you were actually signing for. Cryptography is just really difficult still, and security is also really difficult. So really being able to decipher what you're actually doing and not making a mistake, especially because in crypto it's all about money, is really important. So we're also looking at like various independent ways to actually verify what we do. Then I think what Melanie also has talked a lot about is the policy engine. I think Securosys, refresh my mind, I think it's called Cyber Vault Code. We are extending upon that, especially because I think like still, it's built on top of the Cyber Vault Code solution. We already have the code. We already had the code built before you released the product, because you announced the product, I think, like 5 years ago already. So I've been waiting for that. But it bases, for us, the most important thing is to bridge the crypto landscape with the traditional financial institutions, to really be able to provide the context, which is the most powerful part, in combination with the policy engine, so the decision to whether to add or request specific signatures or not, is really important. So we are building that context based on all the historical actions that you have done in the past, and then deciding what or which signatures are required for the action. This is all completely personalizable per client and also per wallet. And since every client has multiple wallets on our platform, it completely offers a new way to manage wallets without losing security. And I think the last part is, and I've also talked with like some more people here about it, is disaster recovery. The regulation forces us to think about what can go wrong. For us, we're also thinking about this every day, even if they're talking with a lot of clients. So what if Securosys goes down, or what if we cannot work together with Securosys anymore due to any reason? But that also holds for us. So what if Blockrise does not exist anymore? Would you then still be able to access or use your keys? For this specific scenario, we're quite Bitcoin focused in that sense. So we're looking into Bitcoin native solutions. We're also looking into hybrid solutions where we combine blockchain specific technologies such as pre-signed transactions or native recovery keys together with like the flexible authorization that we currently have. So even if Blockrise at a sudden point ceases to exist, we would still be able to provide you access to your wallet such that you don't have to trust what we do or trust if you have to exist in a future stage. So that was the short presentation of mine. Thank you for your time.
Any questions for Jasper? Yes.
Where do you run your wallet code? For example, where do you generate Bitcoin transactions?
Currently, it's generated in our own data centers. So it's actually the same as like how the vault containers are currently set up. In the end, the signing structure is completely segregated from our Bitcoin transaction structure, but we build our Bitcoin transactions independently, such that the clients can always verify them independently before they are signing them. So yes, it could be possible, but I'm also wondering like what the benefit directly would be. There could be a benefit, but like for example, the same holds for like adding more context. There's an option, as Melanie showed, I think like in a previous presentation, about using verified data from external sources to then decide whether you sign or not. And the question is, where do you lay the threshold about like generating that verified data yourself in the HSM, so using vault code, or using or generating that into another service, or generating it in another service, and then using that into your vault code applications. That's also still an internal discussion. I also think like the more you generate in the HSM, the more requirements in terms of memory and performance and CPU it would require. And perhaps also the more expensive it will be in terms of the requirements, right? So yeah, it's always still like we still have to try it out. I think our developers received the demo code or environment last month, and I think they have started testing it out. We just have to see.
Is your access model, which you discussed here, just for use by your own Bitcoin brokerage business, or do you actually license that out to other Bitcoin transaction people because you have a good access model?
Yeah, so our clientele currently is two-faced. So on one side, you have people who just have like a lot of crypto or a lot of Bitcoin. That's divided into personal holdings, holdings in their company, but there are also companies or institutions, or it depends on how you want to frame it, that want to have the same access control or with the backup, but then that depends, or a hard requirement for them would be specific features like the policy engine, which we currently are still building. So there are clients which then, institutional clients, which then choose for us with a limited size or amount. And then there are also clients in a waiting line for, or in a waiting list to wait for the policy engine to completely like have the automated approach.
You mentioned that you're forced by EU regulators to comply with a certain set of regulations. So I presume that you're regulating in the EU.
Yes.
Mainly. Are you operating in Switzerland, or are you planning to? And if so, where will you host your HSMs?
So currently we are located in the Netherlands and we're operated in the EU. Our short midterm focus is still in the Netherlands and then to expand in the EU afterwards. There's an option. It also depends on our chief of strategy where we are going to expand next. But we're first primarily focusing in the Netherlands and then the Benelux afterwards. So there are no direct plans to like establish a full entity in Switzerland. However, it is possible for entities from Switzerland or personal people from Switzerland to onboard at our EU entity.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you very much, Jasper. Thank you.